Hey guys, this is the last of the series. There's four of those videos, or four of these videos here. This is the last and the shortest part, I believe, of the review. This is going to be the last 25 questions, essentially. These are questions that you've seen again before. So just going to kind of go in a backwards order so I can make sure I get to start at the end. But let's see. In talking about verbal communication and public interaction, there was a question you just had on the last test dealing with, of course, the TCO course guide 25.5 gives you four choices of the following as a question people are asking themselves about you, the officer. Can you help me? Can I trust you? Do you care for me? Or who are you? Which of those four is not one of those in the TCO guide that we talked about in the last time? Remember the acronym symbol. We're talking about vehicles. Well, there's the answer, of course. Remember the acronym symbol. You know, color, year, make, body, or body style, and license. Remember what that stands for. In intoxication driver, your SFSTs. There, we talk about 8 Qs. 8 Qs. There was like 4 or 5 possible choices here. They wanted to know, as far as the walk-in turn test, when it's administered in a standardized manner, you're looking for the suspect's performance in 8 Qs. I want you to identify which one of those applies, especially in the walk-in turn there. Is it they keep their arms down at their side? Is it they count out loud? Is it they stand with their heels together during instructions? Or is it that the fact they started too soon? And of course, you remember your DWI traffic SFSTs, it's that they started too soon. Remember the traffic code 545.302. It's 2213 of the T code guide. Remember the distance that you can park basically your car within of a fire hydrant. Those guys in those hose draggers, those red trucks, they don't want us to park a certain amount of feet within a fire hydrant. So remember that there. When we talk about human trafficking, you just had a bunch of questions about that recently. You've had that a couple of times. As far as the control of a trafficker or a victim, do they give that person a false sense of security? Is that one of the methods? You're secure, you're okay. Do they confiscate their passports and other travel documents? Of course, they do that. And of course, they restrict the movements. But do they allow them to have unsupervised visits with their family? So which one of those is not going to be a control or a method of control with the trafficker? We're talking about victims of crime. This is out of the Code of Procedure. It's 56A.203. Somebody in your agency, at least one person, has to be designated to serve as what? Every local law enforcement agency shall designate one person to serve as that agency's what when it comes to victims of crime? Crime victim specialist, crime victims technician, or crime victims liaison. Remember the Child Safety Check Alert List, or CSCAL. This is the Family Code 262.104. There are some conditions about, as far as the Family Code allowing an officer to take temporary possession of a child when certain conditions are met. Remember which one. Or think about which one of these is not a condition. On the personal knowledge of facts that will lead a person of ordinary prudence and caution to believe the child has been a victim of sexual abuse, or that they believe the child has been, information furnished by another that has been corroborated by the personal knowledge of facts that lead you to believe that they've been a victim of sexual abuse, or on personal knowledge of the facts that will lead a person of ordinary prudence and caution to believe that there's imminent danger to the physical health or safety of the child, or on personal knowledge of facts that will lead a person of ordinary prudence and caution to believe that the child has missed a significant amount of school which one of those is not one of the conditions that we are going to seize or take possession of that child for a period of time. As far as missing and exploited children, under state law enforcement agencies are required to report to the clearinghouse, the missing persons clearinghouse, and also enter into the NCIC missing person file upon receiving a missing child report where the well-being of the child is in danger. How many hours do we have to do that? How many hours do we have to do that? Remember that. That's CCP 63.009A3. Family violence and crime and victims, remember the definition of what a household is. Remember the definition of a household. The TABC code, as far as prosecutors, if you're going to prosecute an administrative case, what do they need to prosecute an administrative case? What are the things that they need? Do they need the location to include the permit and the license number? Yeah, they need to know that. Do they need to know the reason why or the reason for being a licensed premises? Do they need to know that level of information there? Of course. Do you have to identify the persons that are involved? Well, of course you do. Do they have to know the maximum occupation that's designated for that particular premises by the local fire marshal? Don't think so. Health and safety code question there deals with when we're talking about probable cause in a drug investigation. When we're trying to investigate, or trying to develop probable cause, which of the following is not going to be a factor that we're going to use? The appearance of the vehicle. The driver states that he doesn't have a key to the trunk. Oh, you know what? I just don't have availability to get in the trunk. Or, golly, I don't have any identification, but here's my name. Or, they got a single air freshener hanging from their mirror there. Which one of the following is not going to be one of those contributing factors to developing probable cause? Hint, hint, hint. A lot of people have a single air freshener. I've got one in mind. Civil process. Be familiar with what default judgment means. It's a decision by the court rendered in favor of a plaintiff for the defendant's failure to respond to or appear before the court to answer demands of the plaintiff. In other words, you're supposed to show up to court. You don't. You're getting sued by, Joe Schmo. You get sued. You don't show up. The judge is going to, boom, enter a default judgment against you. Just remember that. Not that you'll ever get to do it in your career, but, in 20-something plus years of full-time law enforcement, I did it twice, so you never know. Once for a suspect, once for a victim. But, again, this is 13.2 of the T-Code course, guys. We're talking about consular notifications. When you take a foreign national, what are the steps when you take a foreign national into custody or arrest them? What are some of the steps you have to do? Do you have to ask them, are they a U.S. citizen? Do you have to make notification to mandatory notifications countries? Do you have 72 hours to do that? Do you have to ask them if they wish that their consulate be notified? If they're not from a mandatory notification country, because there's some countries you have to, you're mandated to notify, or do you have to do all three of those? And of course, the answer is all those things. Identity theft. Be familiar with basically talk about a facilitator. What a facilitator does. Excuse me. When what does a facilitator do? Of course, in many instances, identity crime is used as a facilitator through financing or anonymity to commit other criminal activities. So it's that identity stuff is to be able to use that for other crimes. So a facilitator. Asset forfeiture. This is of course also a little search and seizure law kicked in here. It looks like. But which of the following is not an exception to the search warrant requirement? Areas within immediate control of the time of arrest. That's Schimmel versus California case. A safety sweep of the adjacent rooms. In other words, a sweep just to make sure there's nobody else in the other rooms of the house. The plain view doctrine, which there are civil court cases that deal with that, or non-emergency searches. Which one is not one of those exceptions? Another arrest, search, and seizure question there. A search warrant, and it's a CCP 1804. A search warrant must contain certain requisites. It's got to run in the name of the state of Texas. It's got to identify as near as may be that which is to be seized, and the name or describe as near as may be the person, the place, or the thing to be searched. That it be signed and dated by a magistrate. And what else? What else does a warrant have as a requisite? Commands an individual to search the person or place or thing. Commands an investigator to search the person, place, or thing. It commands anyone to search a person, place, or thing. Or it commands a peace officer of the proper county to search forthwith the person, place, or thing name. So remember that. That's obviously the last thing there. The commands any peace officer. Search warrants are typically made out to peace officers, but they can do things. Code of Criminal Procedure 2.29a. A peace officer to whom an alleged violation of fraudulent use of possession of identifying information is reported shall make a written report to the law enforcement agency that employs the peace officer that includes what? The name of the victim, name of the suspect if known, the type of identifying information obtained, possessed, transferred, or used, or all the above. All the above. All of the above. A couple of questions from the penal code. Woman has forfeited her right to her vehicle due to being late on her payment. In order to not get her car repossessed, she takes the car to a friend's house in another state. What has she done? What crime is that? What crime is that? It's interesting. What crime is that? Hindering secured creditors. Hindering secured creditors. A student enters their instructor's office and sees that the computer is on. The student knows that there's going to be a test during next week's class period. The student hacks into the instructor's computer and sees the test. What crime has that student committed? Theft, fraudulent removal of writing, unauthorized use of telecommunication device, or breach of computer security. Breach of computer security. By the way, tests are not on my computer, so don't worry about doing that. Constitution, U.S. Texas Constitution and rights. Which of the following is or are true about the effects of the criminal justice system? Increased arrest cause increase in court dockets. Court dispositions increase correctional populations. Correctional releases often impact police functions. Or how about all the above there? Be familiar with Code of Criminal Procedure 3.05, the definition of racial profiling. The definition of racial profiling. Under multiculturalism and human relations, there's some forms or targets of prejudice. Which of the following is going to be one of those forms or targets? Political affiliation, authority figure, physically challenged, or all the above. One question from TCO rules. It is Title 37 of the Texas Administrative Code, 219.1D. An eligible examinee for the state licensing exam will be allowed how many attempts within certain number of days? So at the end of August, you get to take this. You're going to take the state test. How many attempts do you get? We're going to only take one because all y'all are going to do well on that first one. But how many attempts do you get? 2 or 3? And within how many days of that first one do you have to take those 3 attempts if you take all 3 of those? 180 or 181? So there's two parts to that question. How many attempts and how many days? Okay? How many attempts and how many days? 180 or 181? 181, do you know anything that's 181? So 180 is how many months technically? 6. Basically 6 times 30. So remember that. Then there's let's see. TICO rules. Fitness. Be familiar with the definition of physical fitness. Physical fitness is 3.1 of the TICO guide. Where did we get policing? Where's our roots from? In fact, I'm recording this on the 20th of June. Yesterday, the 19th of June, in 159 years ago, Robert Peel formed the London Metropolitan Police Department. So obviously we get that from England, but we get it from other countries in Europe too. So don't think that just England. We get it from a lot of countries in Europe. We get our roots of we get it from Italy or the Roman Empire. We get some from a lot of different places. So Europe is where our roots are from. And then the last question for this this fourth part of the 4-part review is where do we get? Of course, this is the TICO guide. It's 1.1. One of the first things y'all must have talked about. As far as professionalism, where's one of the earliest meanings of professionalism come from? Is it from physicians? Is it from the law? Is it from the military? Or is it from religion? So this is the fourth part. There are 3 others there. And so good luck to you guys next week on the test. Like I said, I will be somewhere driving from Iowa to Wisconsin and on vacation. And so best of luck to y'all. I will see y'all back on July 5th when I get back from vacation. Study hard, work hard, and keep up the hard work.